Total eclipse of the heart. This is L'Eclipse. Not to be confused with the Twilight Saga, Eclipse.
Which one is that? 3 or 4? 2? 3?
That's 3.
You know what? I only ever saw the first one.
Really?
Am I missing out?
They're so campy and they're so memeable. Like, it's really fun. It's honestly really fun to watch.
Which one's the best one?
Which one's the best one?
Yeah.
To make fun of or just to watch?
To watch.
You know what? I'm going to go with 1. It is the most watchable. It's the most memeable. Like, it gets to a point where the later ones just get like too much. The first one, yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast where 2 entertainment assistants go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we're here this week for our second Antonioni film that we've covered so far on the show. It's cool. We've been doing this long enough that a lot of directors, are repeats at this
popping
point.
Up.
The previous film we did from Antonioni was La Ventura, which I believe was it was not that long ago. It was like last December or something. But a film we both really love.
Yeah, I love it.
This week, we're covering the third film in that sort of loosely connected trilogy. This is L'Eclipse from 1962. Mm-hmm. But before we get into this week's... it is the third. Yeah.
Yes.
La Notte is the second. Before we get into this film, Jackie, what have you been watching lately?
Not that much. We both watched The French Lieutenant's Woman because we were on a Breath of Fresh Movie podcast.
We were. That was
Victoria
so much fun.
It was really, really fun. If you haven't seen our episode,
Heard.
It's out now. Wait, what?
Heard our episode.
Yeah. If you haven't heard our episode, it's out now. That's Breath of Fresh Movie. And they are 2 very funny ladies who watch movies that they've never seen before. And they had us on and it was really fun.
I'm kind of jealous of their whole style.
It's really
cool. Of the setup, because they can do any movie.
I know.
We're like on the Sight and Sound list.
Yeah.
And we try to find any excuse to like kind of bounce off of the list.
That's not true. I love doing the Sight
No, I
and
do
Sound
too.
list.
I do too.
So we watched The French Lieutenant's Woman with Meryl Streep and Jeremy Irons.
Well, no. If people want to hear our thoughts, they can go listen to the episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. This is new territory for me. Sorry.
How dare you spoil their
I know.
Jackie.
I've been watching the latest season of Rami. That's been taking up most of my time. It's really good. I actually love it. I think it's my favorite season, honestly. And then I watched Wendy and Lucy because I'm going to see the new Kelly Reichardt tonight.
Wait, had you not seen Wendy and Lucy before? Are you serious, Jackie?
I know.
Oh my God.
It's
okay.
So
You're forgiven.
good.
You're forgiven.
It's so good. I loved it. Damn. What else is there to say?
Yeah, it's great.
I know. I especially love that security guard, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's so great. So I'm very excited to see showing up tonight. By the time you hear this, we'll have already seen it.
We will have, yes.
What have you been watching?
Thoughts next week.
Thoughts next week? Yeah,
the
we'll
buzz
check
is good.
in.
The buzz is very good.
The buzz is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen a couple things. I've been making use of my movie pass, not actual movie pass, but I prefer not to mention the theater chain of which I have the.
See.
I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, you did?
Which was bad.
Really?
It was bad. It was really, really bad.
Really? I kind of wanted to see it.
The best way, you know what? I mean, it's like perfectly passable if you like aren't, if you're not going in expecting a real movie and you just kind of want that like Mario feeling, you're going to get it from the movie.
That's good. That's
It's
actually what Chelsea said to us. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. But it's basically like if ChatGPT wrote a Mario script.
Okay.
And a lot of it just feels like you're watching someone play a game.
Okay.
And there's a lot of really jarring stuff in there, like Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, and you like hear his like stoner laugh come out of Donkey Kong, and you're like, this doesn't fit. Also, Chris Pratt's Mario is not great. I liked Charlie Day as Luigi.
Yeah.
Jack Black as Bowser was perfectly fine. He was one of the better ones. Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach was perfectly fine too. But as like a creative endeavor, it was a complete and utter failure.
Wow.
And then, yeah, as you mentioned, French Lieutenant's Women. People will have to listen to our episode that we guested on Breath of Fresh Movie to hear what we thought about that one. And I've revisited a documentary, For All Mankind. You know, one of the seminal documentaries. It's about the Apollo missions from 1968 to 1972, with the music by Brian Eno. Beautiful film. Molly hadn't seen it, so we sat down and watched it. And it's breathtaking.
So the moon landing was not a fake?
It's so fake, Jackie. Kubrick faked it. That's what they go over in the documentary.
Oh, is that what the documentary's about?
No, I'm just kidding. No, wait, you haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, so like all the astronauts actually went and shot all this like 16 millimeter footage like on those Apollo missions, like with them in the space shuttle on the moon. So there's footage of them on the moon.
With them?
Yeah.
But then didn't the motor run a little slower in space?
Yeah, it shows them like cranking it by hand.
Was it? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. If you haven't seen it, it's like really awe-inspiring.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're telling me it wasn't a setup?
I mean, some people believe that. I'm not one of them. I don't think the moon landing was faked, but all power to those people who think otherwise.
I'm not saying I think otherwise.
No, I'm not.
Just curious.
There are a lot of people out there who are like, it was faked.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
That's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like this movie.
On that very sad note, should we get into this week's film?
Sure. This is number 73 on the 2012 list. It's number 196 on 2022. So
Big
it's
drop.
No longer on the top two. Oh, it's in the top 250, but it's not in the top 100.
I would say in the 2032 list, it's going to get bumped off.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, with no further ado, from 1962, this is Michelangelo Antonioni's L'Eclipse.
L'Eclipse was released in 1962. It was directed by Michelangelo Antonioni, co-written by Antonioni and Tonino Guerra. Cinematography by Gianni Di Venanzo, whose other credits include La Notte, 8.5, Juliet of the Spirits, just wanted to plug him, and music by Giovanni Fusco. On a fine Roman morning, after a long evening of talking and arguing, Vittoria ends her engagement with Riccardo. Riccardo has trouble understanding how Vittoria can simply not love him anymore, and even stands outside her bedroom window trying to get her to talk to him. Vittoria's mother is heavily invested in the Rome Stock Exchange, and Vittoria goes to visit her. On the hectic trading floor, she meets her mother's stockbroker, the devilishly handsome and cunning Piero. Vittoria meets her neighbor, a colonialist from Kenya, and rides a little plane with some friends to Verona. The market takes a big hit, and all of Piero's clients mourn their huge losses. Piero and Vittoria start seeing each other, frequenting the street corners of the Esposizione Universale di Roma, or the UER district. Piero takes Vittoria to his parents' lavish apartment, where they finally consummate their affair. Finally, after hooking up in his office one day, they part, saying that they'll see each other later and the next day and all subsequent days after that. But there's an unspoken, uncomfortable finality to their goodbye. The film ends with a 7-minute sequence of the barren and sparsely populated streets of the EUR. Sans Vittoria and Piero. A streetlight burns out, taking us into the credits. That's the synopsis. Mm-hmm. It sounds a little weird because it is a little weird. The film stars Monica Vitti as Vittoria, Alain Delon as Piero, and Francisco Rabal as Ricardo. I can't get full confirmation, but apparently Alain Delon's voice was dubbed by an actor named Gabriele Antonioni. Don't know if he's related to the director. The film is, like you said, the last part of an unofficial trilogy. 3 films. It's hard to define the trilogy because sometimes these unofficial trilogies have a name, like the Colors trilogy, right?
I've heard this described as the trilogy of ennui.
Yes, I've heard that too. I mean, I just call it like 3 films starring Monica Vitti about sad, aimless, horny Italians. That's what I've been calling it.
Well, I can't, because Red Desert is similar and it's not part of the trilogy.
Black and white, sad Italians.
Oh, Black and White. There you go.
Starring Monica Vitti.
There you go. Okay.
Horny.
Yeah.
That's it. It was shot on location in the EUR district. This district was founded by Mussolini. He wanted it to be part of the He wanted it to be the location of the 1942 World's Fair, which he wanted to host to celebrate 20 years of Italian fascism. It was actually going to be called E42, which sounds very Disneyland-y to me, doesn't it?
E42?
Yeah.
No, wait, how?
It sounds like Tomorrowland-y. Like, imagine a district was called E42. Anyway, construction started in the 30s, but had to stop because of World War II, and the fair was actually canceled because of the war. So you get all these modern buildings and then a bunch of empty lots. That's the EUR, and it's just a perfect setting for this theme of post-war alienation and depression. Perfect. The stock exchange stuff was shot on Sundays when the market is closed. Real stockbrokers were hired to play in the movie. The film premiered at the 1962 Cannes Film Festival. When L'Avventura opened there, it was met with really mixed reactions. Some people were really angry, but by the time this opened, they had accepted Antonioni's style, and everyone was really excited. It won the special jury prize.
It was hotly anticipated.
Exactly. I should just start a segment at this point about how films are chopped up for American audiences. Some American exhibitors, chopped off the last 7-minute ending sequence, which is kind of the most important in the whole movie.
Yeah, how do you end it then? Like, where does it end?
She leaves. Probably because there's one, like when she leaves, she looks up at the trees.
Oh, they end it there?
And then she's gone forever. If I had to guess.
Oh my God.
Probably that's where it ended. I feel so bad for Americans in the 60s.
They did just fine.
I mean.
They got along.
And this was Antonioni's last black and white film. Those are my specs.
Yeah. So this was followed up by Red Desert in 64. And then I believe, unless I'm forgetting one, Blow Up in 66. And Blow Up literally blew up his career and was this big touchstone for him. It was English language, took place in London, David Hemmings, all that stuff. But
Richard Harris is in Red Desert.
He is,
He's dubbed in Italian.
I think so. He must be.
I want to watch that.
It's really good. I think you'd like it a lot.
I need to watch.
Yeah, you do need to watch.
It's been like a long week.
Jackie,
and
no more excuses. I'm just kidding.
What are your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts. This is my second time seeing this film. As we talked about in our L'Avventura episode, the first of his films I saw was The Passenger on a theatrical re-release. It came out in 1975, so I think it must have been for its 30th anniversary in 2005. But I went with my then girlfriend to the theater to go see this Jack Nicholson re-release because I was a big fan of him. Had no idea what I was getting into and was completely bored by the movie. I love it now, but at that time I was not ready for Antonioni. Fast forward 10 years after that, probably I see L'Avventura. Didn't really like that the first time I see it. Came around, now love it, and I'm since a huge Antonioni fan. So this is my second time seeing Eclipse. I think I had first seen this 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10 years ago, something like that. And I was lukewarm on it. It was my least favorite of the trilogy because I love L'Avventura. I think L'Avventura is a complete masterpiece. La Notte I really like too, and Eclipse left me a little bit cold. And I think I was really excited to watch Eclipse because I knew how sort of experimental it was supposed to be compared to the first two films. So the first time I saw this, I didn't love it. I know we talked about this before. I think we talked about it on the outro to our last episode, but all the stock exchange stuff just went on so long. And I was like, what is this? What this movie's about? first time I saw it. So coming back and rewatching it for this episode was great because I like it a considerable amount more. I think it's probably still my least favorite of the three, although I love the idea of this movie so much. And I think those last like 6 or 7 minutes have so much to do with it.
For sure.
I really love that like Antonioni is really coming into his own here. I mean, he was already with L'Avventura like 2 years before this, because Antonioni in the 50s, I think even in the 40s, was making kind of like very straightforward films, like these similar subject matter, like people kind of falling in love and comedies and stuff. But like L'Avventura was this huge breaking point for him where he turned into a different artist. Like he got his own voice and did his own thing. So this is like taking that even further. I think there's so many stretches of this film that are wordless, that are beautiful. It's so ridiculously atmospheric from the first frame to the last. Every scene breathes. Some people might say too much. I disagree. So yeah, I think too, what it really comes down to is I love the casting of Alain Delon and Monica Vitti. Like I think they have a lot of chemistry. They're both sexy ass people.
They're beautiful.
And it just works. And while I do think that some of the stock exchange stuff goes on too long still, it probably takes up what, like 20 minutes of this movie, maybe 25, like the two big scenes combined, maybe 25.
Yeah.
I think it's too much. Could have been easily maybe 10 to 15 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
But I really do like it. And I think, again, just that the last 6 or 7 minutes are stunning.
They are.
So not my favorite Antonioni, but one that I like really appreciate and admire. How about you?
We're on the same page. This was my second time watching this. This time I liked it a lot more. But it still doesn't compare for me. I mean, it does, I guess, but like it's still my least favorite. I think those last 7 minutes truly are the best part. Like that and the beginning. I could watch the beginning scene. I could watch that for 2 hours.
Were they breaking up?
Yeah. I could literally watch that for 2 hours. Just this, like, I love this. Everything we talked about on L'Avventura, the empty, hopeless drabness of those two sequences are incredible. I feel a similar way about the airport scene. I really like that airport scene.
I do too. Yeah.
But then you have the blackface, which happens really early on, and you can't really forget it. You can't really move on fully. I don't know. Like, I think this time, because I knew it was coming, I was a little more prepared and I was easy to like switch it off. It was easier for me, but I don't know. It's just, it happens so early and it's really, really bad.
It's not even just like, the blackface either. It's like
what they're saying.
The conversation. Yeah.
It's horrible. I don't know. I'm also, like you said, I'm just really, 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 really not interested in stocks. Like I already don't understand. Anytime there's a stock market scene in a movie, I completely shut off. I don't understand it at all. Now make it Italian and I understand even less and I'm more lost.
You know what movie I'm amazed that's about the stock market that actually made me care was Wolf of Wall Street.
I was going to say, I like Wolf of Wall Street. I think it's fun, but I don't really care that
Scorsese's
much.
great at like breaking stuff down. Like this is how it works. And
yeah. And they drag those scenes, those stock market scenes. And the relationship itself, like when we talked about L'Avventura, we talked about how I'm so much more invested in L'Avventura, like the couple in that movie, obviously La Notte too. La Notte is my favorite. I don't know, even though these are two of the most beautiful people ever, it doesn't interest me the way that the other two do, the relationships in the other two movies. And I don't really know what it is. It makes me feel better about myself because when we were talking about L'Avventura and we were talking about how hot they are, and that's why we like the movie and that's why the movie works and that like the movie proves itself right because we just want to watch these two hot people. I don't know. I was feeling really shallow after we said that. So I feel better about myself here. I don't know. There's a lot I like in this, a lot. Don't get me wrong. I think with a little tweaking, this could have been the masterpiece that everyone says it is. So that's how I feel about it.
Cool.
We feel similarly.
Yeah. This rarely happens that we're so on the same page.
I know. But it starts like from the freaking credits.
Yeah, so the credits start and it's this like this like sprightly pop song, and then it fades and then it turns into this very like ominous music.
Yeah, should we listen to it?
Yeah, let's play it.
Let's listen to the change.
It's a little much.
It's icy.
It's a little
much.
You
think it's much?
Yeah, I do.
I like it. I like it. I don't know. And then it starts and it's literally inanimate objects. And the second it opens, I'm just like, amazing. That's an amazing shot. And it's literally just a shelf. But then it like switches to his arm. Yeah, that's how I feel about him.
Well, the first thing we see, Monica Vitti is like moving around some decor on a table.
No,
like,
the first ever shot, though, is the shelf,
right.
Inanimate objects, and I'm just like, yes, that's beautiful. And then it shifts to his elbow, like he's like camouflaged in them. And again, I'm just like, yes, I love that.
I think that was symbolizing like elbow grease. Like all the elbow grease that went into making this movie possible.
What it's actually symbolizing, I think, are how he likes these inanimate objects. He likes empty spaces, no people in it, and then like there's a guy hidden in it.
Well, I think too it's about how people's possessions are a reflection of them. And like we go to the woman's house who is from Kenya.
Oh my God.
And or lives in Kenya.
No, she was born in Kenya. That's her home. Right. Well, home quote.
Right.
We'll talk about it. So that beginning scene, I know she's like fixing that frame. She's trying to arrange these objects in a frame, and it's the silence and it's the heels clicking and it's the hands. You know how much I love hands. There's so many hand shots. I could watch the whole movie just take place in that room and them doing stuff. And they're just so anxious and bored. And then what about when like Ricardo, the guy, is just sitting in a chair and staring straight ahead like he's asleep with his eyes open?
Mm-hmm.
That part's freaky.
Yeah, no, I think that scene, I think a lot of people criticize Antonioni for being, cinema of the bourgeois and stuff, but like I think what he captures in that scene is a genuine sense of like two people that have been fighting all night, and it's this like
tired.
They're coming down from it and they're like exhausted, they're confused. It's this haze of just like they've been fighting all night.
Yeah.
And I think he captures that really
perfectly.
Well. Yeah.
I love it.
That's how I spend every Friday.
That sounds awful.
I love that this is essentially architecture, the movie.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. So let's talk about like these two major settings. There's the district, the EUR, and the stock exchange, obviously. But that EUR is like
striking.
It's haunting. Striking and haunting. And it's like really apocalyptic. And it is apocalyptic kind of because it was like, the whole thing that I said about Mussolini. And did you notice that mushroom building?
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be evocative of like a mushroom cloud, like nuclear warfare.
Oh, okay. I mean, but in reality, it was a building that was built for the World's Fair. Yeah, it has that like World's Fair feel to it because the site of the New York World's Fair kind of has that retro futuristic like architecture going on. I think this was kind of a predecessor of that.
Yeah.
And so you get this. We'll talk about this later in the episode, but you have this. You have like exactly what you said. Like you have the metropolis of Rome. Mm-hmm. You have where she lives, which is like on the outskirts, which is quiet and stuff. And then you have this crumbling, forgotten sort of space agey architecture that just creates this like from the very beginning creates this like otherworldly vibe,
this dissonance, this like, and it's uncomfortable. I don't know.
It's all these unfinished buildings, and there's like leaking water.
Yeah. The leaking water.
Yeah. I made a short that still remains unfinished. And in it, I put this really annoying insert shot of this, like, because the whole movie was about a woman, like, after a breakup and, like, kind of reclaiming herself and stuff. And there was this really annoying shot of, like, a building, like a house under construction. And I feel like you get that in this because it's like,
definitely,
you know,
there's so much construction and unfinished buildings, and this nuclear threat looms large.
Yeah.
So good at landscapes.
And you get the nuclear stuff really explicit at the end with the newspaper.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Let's talk about the stock exchange. I love what she says about it when she says, I still can't figure out if it's an office, a marketplace, or a boxing ring. It's a nice contrast to the emptiness of the rest of the movie, just like the fact that it is so crowded and so bustling, but it still represents like an emptiness, right? And like greed and what it's done to people and capitalism.
Exactly. Yeah. I like too the way that it's contrasted with the scene where they go to the countryside on the plane and they're at that, you were saying, that really quaint cafe on that airstrip with that beautiful serene music playing and everyone's so cool. And then it cuts to Alain Delon at like the complete contrast, bustling. People are yelling, people are shoving. Her mom is like throwing her notebook. Miss, you threw your notebook. She's like, no, I threw two.
I know.
So you have that like nice contrast. Although, is it just me? I'm bummed that we didn't get to see the rest of their like little vacation.
I'm a little bummed.
Yeah.
And also, I will say, because you mentioned that scene, the music cues in this movie are incredible.
Oh, he's great at that.
The way that it's like natural and it's like non-diegetic. Wait, is it non-diegetic?
Or it's diegetic, right?
No, diegetic. Wait. Okay, it's diegetic.
One of those means it's coming from a source in the scene. Another means it's coming from like the filmmakers putting it on the soundtrack.
I must know. It's diegetic. Like all the music in the movie except the score is diegetic. And the score only comes in like at the end. Yeah. He's so good at this diegetic music cue.
Yeah, so good.
He's so good at these diegetic music cues, especially like that airport cafe. When they find that other cafe and they even say, oh, this pianist is really good, who is it? You know when they're like walking
must
in
be
the
somebody
woods?
really old.
Yeah but they're walking in the woods.
It's a jukebox,
it's incredible,
right? So it's not actually someone playing the piano.
No, it's a jukebox, but they just talk about the pianist.
I
know that's like really still, but going back to the stock exchange, can I just say her getting out of the cab and like appealing to traffic is phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
She has a way too of calming them down too.
It's so good,
because I would just get mad if someone was honking.
I know, she's just like, come on. But I think it's because she knows she's beautiful, so she can just be like, really, you're gonna honk at me?
It's true. Yes, like super beautiful people have like such an easier time in life.
Definitely.
How about since we're talking about a car, how about that scene when Alain Delon's car gets stolen by the drunk?
Yeah.
And he jumps in front of the car and
he almost gets hit. And
that's I'm like,
scary.
They would never do this now. Like imagine like
to the golden boy.
This young golden boy, like, okay, stand here, and when the car comes, jump out of the way right at the last moment.
You can see the fear in his eyes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I love the shot of the car being lifted out in the hand with dripping water.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love the shot. There's another great shot in the stock exchange when she's looking for her mom, but you can see the mom in the background, and then she sees mom and she leaves the crowd, but then it still holds on the mom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Just like little moments of glory like this in this movie.
Yeah, I mean that's like his whole thing. That he's a master at that stuff. He's better than Fellini. I mean, Fellini doesn't try to do the same thing. It's funny because they were like the two big Italian directors of the day, like the two superstars, and they have such different styles.
I think they're very, very different.
But wait, touching back to you a little bit on the architecture, like I don't think I've really seen a film quite as like interested in the architecture of buildings in the way that people are framed constantly, where the subject does not take up like a lot of space in the frame, but they're framed in huge doorways or windows, or like there's a scene when Monica Vitti opens it's a side view and it's like some trees blowing and you see her walk to the window and look through the window and she's just like staring at the trees, and it's so interested in space, and
it's integral.
The most of all, any Antonioni film I think I've seen, this movie is like the most interested in space.
Definitely. Even when Alain Delon is like, I'm going to kiss you when we get there. And it's like just so they can walk and we can see them walk.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing to do. Like, when we get there, I'm going to kiss you. Like,
I loved
great.
it.
Did I ask?
I loved it. No, I loved it.
No, the setting is, I mean, so integral. And the ending only works because he's paid such close attention to this setting. Because of those empty streets and something as simple as that piece of wood that she throws in the barrel, it becomes a symbol that like no one's going to show up just because we've spent all that time. That's the usual place, you know? And like,
totally.
Of course, it's like heavy for him to say I'm jumping ahead now. But when he says, I'll meet you at the usual place, and we know immediately they're not going to show up because he pulled out with another girl. I don't know. It's the setting itself.
Like I think too, off of that, not to simplify it too much, but she's a person of like, I don't want to say the country, but kind of, and he's the person of the city. Because think about it. The way that she's so enchanted by trees and the natural world and stuff, and he's the one that's obsessed with like the stock exchange, and he's always in there, and
his car.
Yeah, and his car, and he's yelling at people, and he's so into his job. He's a career guy,
right?
And so they're from these two different worlds. And one scene I really loved is near the end of the film where they've had their last like tryst in his office building, and she's slowly leaving, and she goes down the stairs.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
And there's that banister that the camera pays a lot of attention to. There's a banister on the stairs that's very like rustic wood. Did you notice that? And there's a shot,
I can't say I did,
where the camera kind of pans away from the rustic wood, and then it's quiet. She's leaving the building, and then she's out on the street, and you hear the hustle and bustle. You hear cars, you hear the city noise. And she's like overwhelmed. She's like discombobulated because she almost runs into someone on the street.
Yeah.
And then she grounds herself, and she looks up at the trees, and then she gets this like serene look on her face. And so I loved that, just the visual cues of just having that like, again, maybe that's reading too much into it.
Not at all.
That like really rustic wood banner of the stairs.
Yeah.
Because the camera paid like a lot of attention to it. And I was like,
That's on purpose. You know what else the camera pays attention to? Everyday people. And it's like, why? Because this movie is about isolation. It's about how we don't connect with people anymore, how these characters are not connecting with other people. But the camera takes an interest in the everyday citizens where the characters don't, or it's as if it's like telling Vittoria to do so. Like it's almost,
right.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, well, she does follow the one man who like loses everything.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. Like she does that one on herself. Yeah, he draws the flowers. The airport, you have the two, I think very intentional young black guys that it just kind of lingers on. It's like her looking at them.
One of them's looking back at her.
Yes. The end, you have that close up of the old man, like just his ear, and then it's just extremely
eerie.
Yeah. And then there's the girl who looks like Vittoria from the back. That's also in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this constant impending sense of doom.
And she's watching people from the top of his parents, you know, when they go to his parents' apartment, and she looks out her window. Again, you see random people on the street. Like she's just observing, and it's like she's almost trying to connect, but she literally can't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Classic Antonioni character.
I know.
Did you see Columbus, the Kogonada film?
No.
It feels heavily inspired by this. It's not quite the same thing, but in terms of the look and the feel of the movie, I thought that was like 100% he'd seen Eclipse and was kind of pulling from this.
Yeah.
In the way that, again, I think that film is like overtly about an architect, but so it's like framed in the same way, and like, yeah.
I'll have to check out.
I mean, I didn't love it actually.
Oh.
But you should see it.
Yeah. But yeah, and then you have Kenya Marta.
Yes.
That's what I call her.
She's like L.A. Joan from Nashville.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's talk about that scene.
Yeah, really, really hard scene to watch. It's just bad. Like it's like icky, and I didn't notice the time before. I guess I had forgotten just because I was so blinded by it that she kind of pushes back at first. She's like, "Oh, like stop."
Right.
I mean, she doesn't say it like that, but you know, she tells them to stop, as if she almost is like mad that they're doing
offended.
But then she just turns around and says all this horrible shit. Like really bad, colonialist, racist, bad stuff.
Here's the thing, though.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, people rightfully get upset, because I read a lot on Letterboxd of like people stopped watching the movie at that scene.
Right.
It's complicated. I don't think in that Antonioni portraying these characters as racist and colonialist, that they necessarily mirror his own beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's like you start to get into kind of tricky water of like, I know a lot of people were upset there was blackface at all in this, but I think it's critical of her
boredom and her
ignorance too, of just like, she is this bourgeois kind of like aloof person. It's just, I think that it's a slippery slope when people relate things that characters are doing on screen to like the actual beliefs of the artist.
Yeah, definitely. And then I started thinking about it in the context of this movie, because I think when I first saw it, I was like, what the fuck was the point of that scene? And that's what was making me really angry. I was like, that seemed really unnecessary. I still don't really think it's necessary. I don't.
Right.
But I started thinking about it, and it's like, oh, that woman's a hypocrite. And it's like almost a possession thing. Like, it's not okay when they do it. Like, that's my thing.
Right,
I have to do that.
right. Exactly.
But I can talk as much shit as I want.
Exactly.
So then I started thinking about it like that. Like, I tried to find like the point of it in it. The point of it, really.
I think you nailed it. And I think too, just to add to that, I think in 1962 in Italy, like, it was not this wildly offensive thing that it is today. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just, 60 years ago, people weren't like, oh, like, it was not in great taste.
Right.
But again, it's illustrating the character.
Right. But yeah, I know she's like possessive of Kenya, and of course that's just like representative of all colonialism. But yeah, she had her baby there. She says, she's like, that's my home. And
but then she talks trash on all the other African countries.
Exactly. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, this movie's like kind of about loss. And it's like, so we have like loss and how it does or doesn't affect us anymore, or the ways that it's like fucked up the way that it affects us. And what does that say about us? Like, Vittoria she truly doesn't know why she stopped loving Ricardo. She doesn't have a reason, but it's lost. Like, that love is just like gone. Bye. And then like mom, the only thing she loses is money.
Right.
And that's the only thing she cares about. Even, when she pulls, she goes, you had to do this with Ricardo this week. Like, when she loses all that money. Horrible. Yeah. All the people at the stock exchange who lose their money. The guy who draws flowers, of course. Oh,
that's such a beautiful little detour that this movie takes.
Yeah, it
Her
is.
following the guy.
I want more of that.
Yeah.
And then Marta obviously losing her, quote, home. Her home not really being hers to begin with.
Right.
And Piero just going through girls, but when he loses his car, that's when he's upset.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about the dents. Yeah. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to do all this to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a shot when they're talking about that. There's a shot where it's literally her chest.
Yes.
You know that shot?
It's from the side.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
It's a good shot.
Yeah. But no, it's his point of view.
It's his, exactly. And like, I don't know, Vittoria's just, she even says, she's like, I'm tired and depressed.
She knows from the beginning too, like, that Alain Delon is hot, but like, he has nothing to really offer her beyond that. Like, she knows. And that's why she has that really great line, I wish I didn't love you, or that I loved you much more.
So good.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah. But she is depressed. Like, she says it herself. I have no feelings.
Yeah. No, it's perfect.
Really sad.
And I think too, the frustration that he gets from her depression, something that he just like can't wrap his head around, is beautiful. And I think really great. It's like best exemplified in that scene where they go to his parents' apartment, and she like locks herself in the parents' bedroom, and it's just like looking at their photos, and he's like, let me back in. There's just this like, because he's constantly frustrated with her. Like, why are you doing it? Why are you doing this? Why are you acting this way?
Yeah, she always like kisses him and then pulls away like 2 seconds later. It kind of gets old.
It's like the Antonioni thing.
It kind of gets old. But no, I think with her, it's like, yeah, she has another great line. She has good lines in this. She says, there are times when holding a needle and thread or a book or a man, it's all the same. And again, that's just like her general depression. But is she trying? Like, I think she's trying a little bit. Like, following that man, that's a step.
Yeah.
It's like,
see the world through someone else's eyes.
How do I feel for other people? Again,
practicing empathy.
This scene at the airport, the tarmac with those guys, the black guys, and it happens after the horrible blackface scene. it's not that deep, but like I think that was definitely intentional. Putting those guys there, and she's just kind of staring at them. So I think like maybe she's kind of trying a little bit. I don't know. She's not doing a really good job.
As much as an Antonioni protagonist can.
But then she's talking about her mom and her dad and how her mom. She says like I don't understand this obsession my mom has with my dad. Like I bet you he doesn't even mean anything to her anymore. It's like, that's so sad.
Yeah.
She's sad.
Yeah.
She's, yeah.
I love, I was just going to say, I love the scene where they go back to her mom's house right after like the big
that's the scene.
Crash at the stock exchange. And she they go into her old room and she wipes the dust off her dresser. And she lays on her old bed that she doesn't really fit on anymore. Like she's too tall.
Yeah.
And he sits on the bed and that's where he tries to kiss her for the first time too. Which is just
what
great.
An idiot.
Well, I know, what an idiot, but what great imagery of her in her childhood bedroom and him there. And like,
it's nice.
It's great.
The dust. I love that dust. Hand moment. That's a great hand moment.
It truly is.
That's a great. What about the friend who calls her and is like, he says, it's Ricardo's friend. He calls her, or she calls him because she's like, I'm worried about Ricardo.
Oh, and he just hits on her?
Yeah. She goes, stay close to him. He goes, I'd rather be close to you.
What are you doing tomorrow? Yeah. Oh my God. But so honestly, like, especially back that, we're talking the early 60s in Italy, we're talking Rome, and someone as beautiful as Monica Vitti, like, of course it would be hard to have like guy friends who aren't preying on her.
Right.
Especially Italy, which is known for the men being like especially forward.
You're right.
That scene was so sad to me.
It is sad. And
you could see the heartbreak in her face too.
Yeah. Do you pity her?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know if I do. I think she's kind of an airhead.
Yeah, she is, but
not in a good way.
But I think what you were saying is like her attempts at
maybe she's trying,
learning empathy and stuff. Like she is trying.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe.
But she's also, I think she's enjoying stringing Alain Delon along too. I
think she just wants to hook up, but then she doesn't really want to hook up because she pulls away.
I mean, they do hook up.
Oh yeah,
but she loves the attention that she's getting from him.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? Yeah. That final goodbye. I love that scene.
So good.
There's just something in the air in that scene that's just so palpable and so unspoken. And
what is it when
fantastic?
Because they're like laying on the floor and they're, enjoying each other's company and like an alarm goes off.
And it wakes them up. Yeah.
And then they get very serious very quickly. And then she leaves. So what is that alarm?
No idea.
Because he has all the phones off the hook.
Yeah.
Is that like, okay, I need to go back to work at this time?
I don't know.
Like what?
No.
He has like 10 phones off the hook. And then as soon as he puts them back on the hook, they start ringing. But he doesn't answer.
No, he doesn't. Because he's bad at his job.
Well,
no, he's not. He's probably really good at his job.
I feel like he's good, but his boss does say once, like, you're really sharp and you're shrewd, but like, how do you make this mistake? Because he's like letting the people go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Paid them yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think they make that like vow of I'm gonna see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day when they both know it's not true?
I think because in the moment that's like what felt best.
I guess, but you agree that they both knew that they weren't gonna see each other.
Yeah.
I think they both knew.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, especially too because he asks her, over halfway towards the end, he's like, "Oh, like, would you consider marrying me?" She's like,
"Yeah." What's with these? This always happens in an old movie.
Well, look,
it always happens.
First of all, but
it's true.
Attitudes were different back then, and people got married after knowing each other for like a month.
I know.
But in his eyes, he's like this careerist guy, and he's like this beautiful woman, like as almost like a trophy wife. Like, oh, if I married you and you were by my side and you were seen by me, like that would be amazing.
Right.
I think that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, there's no love between them.
I know. But they have a great balcony scene.
Yeah, they do.
That's a beautiful
Romeo
shot.
and Juliet.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That drunk guy walks out of frame and then it's just a great balcony. Like,
it's so good. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
So what would you do if Antonioni said, Jackie, he's still alive. He gives you the film and he's like, do what you want with this, but whatever you do is going to be like the final cut. Like, would you touch it? Would you take stuff out?
Like, I said it at the start. I think with a few tweaks, it could be a masterpiece.
And you think just shaving down some of the...
I think the blackface stuff, it would definitely take out. And the stock market. That's like a big chunk of the movie.
I would keep the stock market in there, but I would trim it like half.
You could trim it. Can I shoot any more footage?
No.
Does he have any more footage that we don't know about?
Maybe.
I would look at that. I'd start there, I think.
I don't think anything necessarily needs to be added. I think just taken away.
Yeah.
I think too, like if the stock stuff was cut in half and the blackface stuff was maybe cut down a little bit, and this was like an hour and 45 minutes, I feel like that would be like the sweet spot.
I think so. But again, it gets down to something else. Like it is all those things. But again, I don't feel about them the way I feel about the other couples in this trilogy.
Sandro and what's her name?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that the other two films, La Ventura and Le Notte, have a very clear sort of like setup. Like La Ventura is a friend goes missing and Monica Vitti falls in love with her fiance. Le Notte is like a married couple that go to this party. I feel like they have these are just,
you're right.
Like she's depressed. She gets out of a relationship and then she kind of toys around with this like stockbroker and it doesn't really work. Like there's less of a sort of narrative thrust here.
Yeah.
Do you know what Scorsese said about this movie? I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, it's not a narrative. It's more like poetry.
Yeah.
And I know he like loves this movie, which I can see. And it is very stylistically adventurous.
It is. I mean, the ending is phenomenal.
I think for 1962 especially, that ending is, to use a critic word, audacious.
It is.
It's wild. Like I can imagine it ending. It's almost a parody of like a European art film, especially when it ends with Fiend and it's like you just saw this wordless 7 minutes of like, to some people, nothing.
Yeah.
But
there's no, I don't know why I remembered there being an eclipse.
I remembered there being an eclipse too.
There's no eclipse, right?
There's no eclipse. The eclipse is just the street light.
I really thought the last shot was of an eclipse.
Okay, because when you read the synopsis of this movie, it says something like two people meet and fall in love, or not fall in love, but have an affair.
Meanwhile, there's an eclipse or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that is an eclipse and we just didn't notice it. Like the clouds and stuff. But don't you think it would show us?
I'm sorry. There is. Yeah.
Is there?
And then the eclipse turns into the streetlight. Yeah.
It does?
It is. Yeah. It's an actual eclipse. I forget if it's solar or lunar. I always get those mixed up. Oh, well, I think it's a solar eclipse. Yeah. It looks like solar.
I'm very
I think.
Confused. I think this all went over my head.
No, it didn't at all.
I just remember a street lamp.
You see an eclipse for a second. It's in the sky, and then it like morphs into the street lamp, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And then that's the final shot, is it going off. But you're right. They don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I remember the first time too that I saw this movie, I was a little disappointed because I thought the eclipse was going to factor more into it. Like people were going to be talking about it like, oh, you guys ready for the eclipse?
Yeah. Like a thing, Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah. Or the Twilight Saga Eclipse. Although there's no eclipse in that either.
I'll take your word for that one. Or The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
There's other great eclipse stuff too. Oh, there's that episode of Mad Men where Dawn is with the class in like Griffith Park and they're making those boxes that you can see the eclipse with, and that's where he falls in love with the teacher. Yeah. I'm bringing this around to Mad Men too because Don Draper, the character, is a big Antonioni fan.
Yeah.
And loves, his favorite movie is like Le Notte or something because he mentions Le Notte, and I think you see him watching the movie. So Don Draper probably saw Leclise.
Yeah, he definitely did. I think.
I think so too. It's pretty wild when you think about what American movies were coming out at this time. Like 1962, like this is still a ways before like Hollywood was getting more interesting.
You're 100% right. I'm curious. I'm gonna look up.
Well, not to like, I know it's a completely different type of movie and I love the movie, but a year later, 1963 was It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, which again is one of my favorite movies, but it's just this big, goofy, all-star cast, like slapstick comedy.
For sure. Is Best Picture winner or?
No, it wasn't Best Picture winner.
Let's see. 1963, Best Picture.
Well, this was 62. Oh, but it would have been the 63 Oscars, yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay. But still a very straightforward.
It's just a very white bread,
It's a very like, oh, we're making an epic now kind of movie. Whereas like Antonioni was genuinely pushing the medium of film forward. I do think, because a lot of people credit L'Avventura in 1960 for creating a new film grammar. We mentioned this on our L'Avventura episode. And I do think he's one of like a handful of filmmakers in the last 60 or 70 years who actually did push something forward like a little bit.
Yeah.
1964
Oscars were My Fair Lady.
Oh, God.
A movie I love.
Well, wait a second. I mean, I like it too, but again, compared to... But
that's what I'm saying, compared, it's just like a straight cut movie musical.
Tom Jones, too. Oh. Tom Jones was somewhere in there. I thought Tom Jones was 1963, and that won Best Picture at the 1964?
64 said My Fair Lady.
I think 64 is when My Fair Lady came out.
No, it said, I looked up 1964 Best Picture. Tom Jones Academy Award.
Because that won it, and that came out in 63. This film is 62, though.
64. Okay, why did My Fair Lady come up?
I think that must have won
then it was 65.
At the 65, yeah. Anyway. But yeah,
compare,
yeah, exactly. You know, we had stuff like that in Hollywood.
Because they're cutting the last 7 minutes of this movie when they show it to people. Like, that's messed up.
But it's radical, especially compared to, you know, we had the big art house boom of the 50s where we got stuff like The Seventh Seal and Seven Samurai and stuff like that. 7777. And it was accepted in the US. Like, people like, okay, sure, because they were still kind of, you know, Seven Samurai is this big sort of conventional epic.
Yeah.
Really well done. Seven Seal, as you know, we've done actually episodes on both of those films.
Yeah.
Seven Seal is a little trickier, but still like relatively straightforward and kind of crowd pleasing.
Like,
but then you have this a few years later. Like, this is radical.
It's because it's about like sex, I think.
Right.
I think that's the difference.
A couple movies slipped through the studio system in the 50s that were like very sexual.
Like what?
Like, no, I'm like trying to remember. Like Elia Kazan stuff or like
dude, even like what's it called? I think
Nicholas Ray.
Yeah, like Hitchcock movies are pretty sexy.
Hitchcock movies are horny.
They are.
Especially like
North by Northwest.
Yes.
Jeez.
It's very horny. That was 1959.
Totally.
Vertigo in 1958, which we've done.
Yes.
It's our first episode.
North by Northwest is more sex.
Oh, for sure. North by Northwest is a hornier movie, but Vertigo is about necrophilia.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. Hitchcock was very horny.
Should we do Sight and Sound?
Let's do Sight and Sound.
Is there anything we didn't cover? Oh, when you know how we're talking about windows and stuff? Do you remember the shot where she's at his parents' house and she walks by the window and then across the way you could see the neighbor looking at them and then like she disappears?
They're like jerking off, right?
Yes, that's exactly the scene.
That's the Brian De Palma version.
That's exactly the scene. But it's like she's judging her.
Right. It's Monica Vitti's inflection of like, yes, exactly. Thinking that she's being judged in that moment, I guess.
Totally. Yeah.
When the person probably did not care.
Well, I don't know. It was an old Italian lady.
Yeah, that's true. Do you want to do Sight and Sound?
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite sight from the Eclipse?
There's beautiful, beautiful shots.
Again, I know, sorry to interrupt. We talked about this before. So weird that this movie is just called L'Eclipse in America and that we didn't just start calling it The Eclipse.
That's true.
I feel like more Americans would watch it if it just was called The Eclipse. Yeah. They would think it's like sci-fi or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or a vampire.
Yeah, or a vampire. You'd be very disappointed.
My favorite sight, there are so many. Okay, so the granddaddy hand shot in this movie is when they're at his parents' house and they literally are just playing with each other's hands.
I thought you were going to say something else.
That's the granddaddy, right?
Yeah.
I love that one. Obviously beautiful. But I'm going to go with another one just because it's harder to achieve, and it's so cool. It's when she's first playing with that little piece of wood and she drops it in the water.
Oh.
And it pulls back and it turns into a regular 2-shot, medium shot of them. Like it's literally going from a close-up of her hand, pulling back perfectly smoothly.
Think about that focus puller.
I know. It's incredible. That's my favorite.
I'm sure they're being whipped by Antonioni behind camera.
Was he mean?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There's nothing. There's no like production notes or anything I could find.
About this movie?
Yeah.
The most I've ever heard anyone talk about him is Jack Nicholson talks about him frequently. But nice sight. It's beautiful. That was almost mine too. Mine was like what, for me, the most striking image in the film. It's early on, and it's when her and Ricardo have been breaking up, and and it's been contained to their apartment, and like the drapes are closed. And she goes over to the window and she pulls them open. Yeah. And then you just have that super space age building just right there. The big mushroom building just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I think it immediately just kind of like changes the movie from what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I think, again, speaking of the architecture, my aunt and uncle are architects, so I could speak.
Oh.
No, I know nothing about it. But it speaks to a sort of... the architecture of their apartment, and like we were talking about the objects around it, the things, and you get a sense of them. And then she opens the curtains and you see this big building that has nothing to do with anything that we've just seen. And I think it's just like it almost took my breath away.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
What was your favorite sound?
I'm obsessed with the sound of heels clicking.
I am too.
I'm obsessed. And you don't like Bresson?
No, I love Bresson. The right ones. I love it. The sound.
It could be high heels. It could be even men's shoes. It's both. So I have two. I have one that's high heels. It's just her walking.
Should we play it?
Here it is. Great.
Beautiful.
And then here's Ricardo leaving after they said their final goodbye, and he's walking on like gravel almost, and I love it. Here it is. Ooh.
We did another movie. Oh no, it was Daisuke. When we did the Godfather with Daisuke, his favorite sound was someone walking on gravel. Remember that?
I love it. I know. Yeah. It's so pleasing.
It reminds me of like being at the Renaissance Fair or something.
There's something about the heels clicking in these 60s movies that just satisfies me beyond belief. Like, I love it. I could hear it all day.
I so agree with you.
I just love it.
I know I talked about it in our Singing in the Rain episode, but I have that same thing where like it's like it sends shivers down your spine, like hearing just the clip clop of shoes.
It's different with dancing. Tap dancing is a whole other shiver.
Yeah. This
is just plain old walking, especially I think because these movies are silent, or at least these Antonioni ones, like no one's I love it best when like no one's talking and they go on for a long time. They're just walking.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So good.
I know. What about you?
My favorite sound, about 39 minutes in. So she was hanging with her friends. Also, everyone in this movie just kind of stays up all night.
I know. It's really weird.
So after she has hung with her friend.
I know where this is going.
What do you think?
The poles.
Yep, the poles. So she's walking home. Not home. She's just taking a walk. Because she lives in the same building as the friend, right? Or across the street. Okay, right.
How do they even know her?
I don't know, because she's just so outrageous. That scene where she takes the rifle out that shoots the balloon, like that's. I
would keep that. That's a cool.
Yeah,
scene.
That's illustrative of how bored these people are.
Bored and like so annoying. We get it. You're from Kenya. Like you hunt. We get it.
No, but so Monica Vitti's walking home, and there are these just like tall poles on the side of the road that are kind of like clanging together in the wind. Because anyway,
I knew you were gonna pick that.
Here's the clip. Wait, how did you know I was going to pick that?
It's so you. You love wind. But it's so funny. Yeah. Is it before or after that, the dogs?
I think the dogs happened just before this.
So that one the poodle who's just flexing. Like, he's just flexing. He just stands up and does his trick. No one tells him to. There's no instruction.
Yeah.
And she's just laughing. It's hilarious.
Again, I think it plays into like they've paid for their dogs to go like to the highest trainers, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, or maybe the dog just like decided to do it because he's clearly a showman, this dog. So he just wanted to flex, and they're like, oh, let's keep it in there.
The thing
and
is,
she's laughing. I think that's a genuine laugh. I don't think she's pretending.
Yeah, they caught her off guard.
Yeah.
See, the dog is Antonioni in this film. I don't know if you knew that.
I buy that 100%.
So Pauline Kael. So here's a strange thing. I don't know that she like reviewed this film properly, but there's a blurb that's like 2 sentences. So I'll read that, but I'll just preface by saying she loved L'Avventura 2 years earlier. So this is what Pauline, but I think she became increasingly disillusioned with Antonioni with each new film.
Interesting.
So all I could find about her on Eclipse was, some like it cold. Antonioni on Alienation, this time with Alain Delon and, of course, Monica Vitti. Even she looks as if she has given up in this one.
She does.
But that's the point of the
I know
character.
That's the point. No,
yeah.
You're right.
That's a little harsh. I mean, I get it.
I don't think that was being harsh.
I think it's a little. Look, I get loving L'Avventura. I think L'Avventura is pretty much perfect. I think it's because amazing. It balances that narrative drive, and that I think just a missing person thing to propel a story is always fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I get how you could love that and not this, but I think to be so on board with that and then be like, okay, I'm over it at this point. I don't know.
I don't know if that's what she was saying.
I think she just thinks he's getting too cold and too austere for his own good, is what it sounds like. Some like it cold.
I like it cold.
I think there's some, there's some sexual passion in this, that tangible.
When he rips her top and then grabs it.
Yeah. I think too, because they're just both so sexy. Like,
I know, it's so annoying.
How could it not be?
Like, even him pressing his lips against glass.
The glass.
He's still hot.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's still hot.
Another person would look ridiculous.
Would look awful.
No, there's palpable sexual tension in here. So I don't know if it's that cold. It's cold, but it's not. Yeah. I've seen colder romances than this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was Pauline Kael. Should we do Letterboxd?
Yeah.
I have a 4-star review here that says, Antonioni's framing and blocking makes me so giddy, like I could watch his characters silently walk around a room for days.
I agree, by the way. Okay, this is a 5-star review. Michelangelo Antonioni's L'Eclipse begins in confrontation, unfolds in fury, and ends in a desolation both sudden and foretold. I just really liked that. And then it continues. The director's final thesis on the future of the world seems to be, why not perish? That's dark.
I don't know that it's that bleak necessarily. Do you get that feeling?
Yeah. I feel in the end like the world's about to end.
Yeah. I guess you're right, actually. It is. I have a 2.5 star here. L'Eclipse is the most annoying to review out of Antonioni's trilogy because I hated it and appreciated it almost equally. Its tonal imbalance, pacing issues, abundance of ideas relating to politics and economics, delivery of those ideas, sometimes aggressively through overlong stock market scenes or blackface, and sometimes with no clear context whatsoever, as well as its narrative decisions, like the absence of the romance, made the experience quite infuriating.
I vibe with that.
Yeah. And they do go on to say that they enjoyed La Notte more.
Oh, I really vibe with that then.
Yeah.
2.5 stars. I'd be the sole out of touch critic at the 1962 Cannes Film Festival, just laying into this movie, booing and waving a rolled up notebook, my little hat falling off my head from all the commotion I'm causing.
They're thinking about a beret. My little hat. I have a 1-star review here. It just says, empty, lifeless characters are the main focus in a depressingly mundane story about a hopeless love affair that stands as a commentary on the apathetic attitudes of 1960s Italian modernism.
Wow.
It has surprisingly basic cinematography, except maybe the final 10 minutes. I disagree. That pales in comparison to every other Antonioni film I have ever seen. That is all topped off with Monica Vitti in one of the most excruciatingly offensive blackface scenes that I've ever witnessed in my life. I don't care if it was made in 1962 by an acclaimed director. It doesn't work for me and many others in 2021. This one tested my patience to the absolute fullest. Disappointing at its best, infuriating at its worst. Not my favorite, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what I felt the first time I watched it. I was like, this is really bad, and I don't know how I'm going to move on from this. It was, I don't know. Okay, 3 stars. Quoting the movie, "We spent the whole night talking, and for what? I'm so tired. Bitch, when she said this line, I felt that, but the rest of the film was pretty boring." Ending it on a light note.
I saw some people on Letterboxd call this slow cinema, which I thought was not apt at all.
It's pretty slow.
Yeah, but
they walk in empty streets for long stretches of time.
But none of those shots last that long.
Yeah, that's true.
This isn't Bellatar. This isn't Tarkovsky. There's no that's slow cinema. I think it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that was L'Eclipse.
Now we've done the first and the third.
I need a really good break from this movie. I really want to watch La Notte, though.
So watch La Notte.
I don't have time. It's so hard to rewatch movies. I don't know why. It should be so easy.
Oh, I love rewatching movies.
I love rewatching movies. I just don't have the time because it's should I discover something new or should I revisit? And most of the time it's I barely have enough time to watch, so I should discover something new because I already know I love this.
Yeah.
No, I want to.
I think too, you were so criminally underwatched that it's good that you're continuing forward to watch new movies.
That's true.
I'm just kidding. I'm just roughing you up. Just ruffling your feathers.
Wow, it worked. It worked so much that I accepted it.
You're like, it's true.
Monica Vitti. We lost her last year.
We did, yeah. God.
We still have Claudia Cardinale, though. And Alain Delon, but not for long, I think.
Yeah, I think he's on his way out.
But by his own will.
Yeah. Oh, we still have Sophia Loren.
We still have Sophia Loren. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, we have to knock on wood 1,000,000 times. We still have Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah. Is she Italian?
No.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Italians.
Oh, let's talk about Italians then. Who else?
Well, I think we covered it.
I know. I don't.
We still have Cher. I'm just kidding.
She's not Italian.
I know. Moonstruck.
Oh yeah.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
What's her name in that again?
Something ridiculous.
Yeah, really ridiculous.
I love Moonstruck so much.
It's great. Yeah.
It's like Angelina. So, I'm curious. I must know now.
It's so funny because I think so few people in her family are actually Italian. Like the guy that plays the dad, I'm pretty sure is this Jewish guy because he plays Mr. Mushnik in Little Shop of Horrors. And then she's Armenian, right?
She's half Armenian, yeah.
What's the other half? Do you know?
No, I
just
don't know.
A mix.
Yeah, but her dad was Armenian.
Yeah, I don't know how many outside of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, literally. Her name is Loretta
Castorini.
Castorini. Loretta Castorini.
Right. Okay, yeah.
And Rose Castorini is Olympia
Dukakis.
Yeah. And Nicolas Cage is Ronnie.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that Olivia Dukakis is Italian either.
No, this guy's for sure Italian. Danny Aiello?
Oh, Danny Aiello for sure. Yes.
For sure.
Anyway, what are we doing next week, Jackie? Next week we are doing...
Why do you always ask me if you're just going to say it?
Because I have to set it up somehow. Next week is a s'mores episode.
Uh-huh.
So if you're not already in our s'mores community, Camp Seen and Heard...
If you're not a camper...
join us on Patreon. The link is in all of the show notes. And yeah, we do the last episode of each month is reserved for our s'mores episode. So instead of doing a regular sight and sound movie, we do s'mores, which is essentially a genre movie, camp film, underground, cult, B-movie, anything that kind of falls in that banner. So far we've done Pink Flamingos, by John Waters, and we did Love by Gaspar Noé. This month, as the poll just revealed that we had on our Patreon, because you can vote on what the next film will be, it is going to be Return to Oz by Walter Murch.
I'm so excited.
Which frightened generations of kids. It scared the crap out of it. Scarred all these kids.
I couldn't watch it. I think I've only seen it like once or twice.
I did not see. I saw it for the first time as an adult, but I really love it. To show my hand a little early.
Scary. Yeah. It's scary.
So next week will be a patron-only episode, as all s'mores are, for Return to Oz. So if you want to hear it, check it out. Check out our Patreon below. Also, we have a lot of other cool things there. We have monthly Zooms where you can hang with us virtually. We have, because we're so cool, we have discounts on merch. What else do we have? Polls. Yeah. Discussions
soon to come.
Yeah. So check it out. And return next week for Return to Oz, which I'm very excited for this discussion. I think it's going to be like a really interesting one. Yeah. So until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club, featuring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Postagian. Theme music by Andrew Cox. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to say hi, email us hello@seenandheardpod.com or visit our website, www.seenandheardpod.com.